Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Online Warriors podcast. I am joined by Nerdbomber today. How's it going?
I'm back from the dead. I am feeling better-ish. You can probably still hear in my voice that I've got a little bit of a tickle still. But yeah, I spent the last 2 weeks dying, and Techtic held it down, which was very exciting.
It was a good time.
I know. I feel like the last few months, there have been a lot of instances where I am dying. And I will say part of that has to do with my new life philosophy of doing it tired. I think I might have been doing it a little too tired. I think I did too many events in too many days, and I picked up a bug. And
see, what I do is I microdose whatever it is that you have. Like if you get sick, I'll lick your cheek when you're asleep or those kind of things, just to get a little bump of whatever it is, but not get the full sick.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I officially had bronchitis with a potential dosage of walking pneumonia, TBD. They weren't too sure on that one. Definitely did not have COVID or the flu, but whatever it was knocked me down. I had 4 different medications. That's how many medications they gave me. I had a steroid, antibiotics, an inhaler, cough medicine. It was a wild one. It was kind of crazy.
But we believe this to be famous bronchitis.
Yeah, I feel like I did catch this from the beaches. And if any of the members of the beaches are listening to this podcast, I am almost 100% positive I probably caught this from you guys.
During the song Jocelyn is my theory.
Literally could have been at any point in time. We had barricade to their concert. I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago before I basically collapsed and died in coughing fits. But I believe they were saying that they were also sick. And after that show, I believe they also continued to say they were sick. And here I am with bronchitis, mysteriously. But honestly, we went to so many things that weekend, 5 events in 5 days, multiple concerts.
Got it from a hot night.
I could have gotten it from a hot night. I could have gotten it from a hot woman hockey player. I could have gotten it from the Jonas Brothers. I could have gotten it from Taylor Acorn. Who knows who I could have gotten bronchitis from. But only one of that set of people openly said that they were sick, and that was the beaches. So hooray. Famous.
Here's shout out to you, Jordan. We're looking at you.
Maybe. Allegedly. I don't know. No regrets, though. I had a blast that weekend, and proceeded. Actually, it worked out pretty well because normally I feel like I've been pretty busy. All of my weekends have been really, really jam-packed with stuff. And this is probably the first time I actually had a little bit of a break. And so being sick came at a time when I didn't have to miss anything, which was good for a change.
So we're glad you're back, first and foremost.
Same.
And you're back just in time to talk about a pretty snazzy show. We've got 2 major topics that we're going to be covering. One of them is a TV show adaptation of a very popular game franchise, and the other one is the Xbox partner preview. And it wasn't a huge show. I wouldn't say it was a gigantic show.
It was half an hour.
But there was definitely some honorable mentions, or at least not honorable mentions, definitely some mentionables that we should talk about throughout this showcase. So which one do you want to get started with?
Oh, let's go with the showcase first. Let's get that out of the way. There was a lot of meat on that bone. And then, we can kind of cap it all off with the TV show information.
All right. So the first one that was in the showcase was a game called Armatus. And this comes out 2026. And for me, I know you thought this looked pretty nice, but for me, this looked like a roguelike version of Destiny. The character models look very Destiny-esque, and the playthrough was, battle your hordes of enemies, go through random selection of a doorway, and rinse and repeat. Besides how pretty it looked, I don't know that for me this was super grabbing. How did you feel about this?
See, I thought this was pretty neat. I like the setting of this game. You don't really understand what happens. They don't reveal too much, but there's some event that happened called the Vanishing, which basically ended the world, and you are this warrior who's been summoned to kind of defeat all the demons in this war-torn, demolished version of Paris. And first of all, I will say I really love seeing any kind of version of Paris in games, like a Plague Tale. That was fantastic. I just really like the setting, I guess. So that kind of drew me in. And also, I feel like there haven't been a ton of solid shooters lately. And maybe that's me, but I feel like a lot of games have been more, sword and shield combat, your action adventure RPGs. Obviously, you've got your big tentpoles like Doom and stuff like that came out. But in terms of like a new IP type shooter, we haven't really seen a whole lot, especially in the single player realm. And so
yeah, more single player games need to come out.
Right.
I'm tired of the MMO nonsense.
I mean, I don't hate the multiplayer and online component of games. Like the new Call of Duty just dropped. I haven't gotten a chance to download and play that yet, but I'd like a good solid shooter game. But, also having a single player shooter option, it's just something that I always kind of gravitate towards. And because it did sort of have that Destiny vibe and the gunplay and the gameplay of Destiny, I actually really, really liked a lot. Like the online persistent nature of Destiny, I actually bounced off of, and it kind of deterred me from finishing that game. But, having that same sort of vibe in a Paris setting with, the art style of this just looked cool. I don't know. This kind of jived with me.
This feels like a gateway question to how are you not playing Exodus 33? Like it has
Expedition 33?
Yeah, how are you not playing Expedition 33?
So, that is definitely on my radar. That's a little bit different of a style game, though. That's more of like your turn-based JRPG type stuff.
Yeah,
like it's a different style game. And not only that, but I also just haven't had time to sit down with like a 30+ hour video game in a while. That's a little bit of a lie, a partial lie, I guess, because I definitely have had the time, but like I've been so exhausted.
You got to squirrel in your doom scrolling.
Yeah, exactly. Like that sounds horrible, but yeah, I do. Like I'm so busy the rest of the time that when I have downtime, I know I don't have enough days in a row to finish a 30+ hour game. So like, I don't know.
Fair enough.
I don't want to get like, I want to appreciate it. So I need just to have like a week where I can just sit down and hammer it without me being sick, because I would not have been able to pay attention either.
All right. Hopefully it's on the bend. So the next one was called The Mound, Omen of Cthulhu. Now this comes out summer 2026, and this one actually did resonate with me a lot. To your point of like the setting, this gave me, in I believe it's the second Pirates of the Caribbean, where he's like got his jar of dirt and he's like in the bog and swamps and is like the witchy lady.
Is this where like Davy Jones comes into play?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That setting I always thought was really cool. It's like that early New Orleans boggy setting, and this has that. And so from just the layout of the land, I'm interested in this one. You couple that with the varying types of, looks like zombie hordes and creatures, and a little bit spooky, a little bit like slaying monsters-y. This one looked like a good time for me.
Yeah, I'm really interested because it's a co-op horror game. It looks like there's going to be, 4 players who are playing together, and this kind of gave me like Left 4 Dead vibes a little bit, and that would interest me. The only problem with a game like this, and this might just be a very unique problem for us, is that it's not probably going to be couch co-op. Not that super matters now, because like I could always throw it on my Steam Deck and play with you that way. But yeah, one of the things that really drew me to Left 4 Dead was being in the same room. And like, yeah, playing online, I get it. It's fun. I get it. But like, there's just something about, it's easier to organize people to just like come over and play couch co-op.
Oh, I agree. Left 4 Dead was sleepover-tastic.
Right.
I made up a word just now for that. Like, I don't think couch co-op should ever. I'm the biggest advocate for that. And all games, I think, should have both local and online multiplayer, period. It's like, it should be synonymous.
I know why we've moved away from it, because it's all about like the processing power of the console and all of that kind of stuff, because you have multiple instances of the game running and blah, 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 blah. I get it. But I miss it.
But also a lot of game engines now kind of like have that capability built in. It's not like built from the ground up.
I can't speak to that. I'm not a game engine person, but I know you are. So I'm taking your word for that. Taking your word.
So I think this should be play it with friends, have a good time. This comes out again, summer 2026. Get hyped for it. The next one is a bit of an add-on to an existing title, kind of. It is a In the Jungle, Day of the Diver. And we saw sort of a swamp setting, again, into the bog. It's weird vibes today. We saw catfishes. We saw alligators. Is it catfishes or catfish?
I don't know. I feel like it's probably just catfish.
We saw catfish, we saw alligators, and it's like an expansion onto the oceanic setting that we're familiar with. And this is my speed. And I know what you're thinking. Like,
how is it that different? Like, I don't know why that would make it more your speed than regular Dave the Diver.
No, Dave the Diver in general is
okay.
my speed. It's kind of like exciting side scroller. The animation is cutesy. It's just, this is my turn it on when I'm looking for something to fill the gap type of game. You know, you have Vampire Survivor, which is like overstimulating for me. This is my Vampire Survivor.
Have you played it?
Dave the Diver?
Yeah.
I've watched an unreasonable amount of YouTube videos.
Really? So you haven't played it, but you've done like a lot of like let's play research type stuff?
Yeah, I like watching people play it. And the reason why is really because it's one of those things where I just feel so, and it doesn't matter the cost of the game. Really, it's kind of independent. But I feel guilty buying myself nice things.
But I'm pretty sure this is on Game Pass.
Yeah, I feel guilty doing it where I can mindlessly watch something. It's again the TV problem.
Okay.
Where I feel guilty using the TV.
That is so weird to me. That is so bizarre.
I'm just a perpetual burden, folks. That's the way I feel. I've got issues. Deal with it. So yeah, Dave the Diver, Into the Jungle. Get excited for that one as well. Now this, and I'm on a hype train because the first opening of the show kind of set me up to be really, really excited, and then it petered out as the show progressed. The next game is called Crowsworn. This is a Metroidvania, folks. And you know me and Metroidvanias, I love it. You're sort of a plague doctor with like magical abilities.
I think you're a crow, right?
Well, you're like a crow, but you've got like the plague mask. You know what I'm saying?
I thought it was just a crow face.
Who's to say?
Who is
Honestly,
to say?
that's the fun thing about the character sprites and not super detailed. And so this is a Metroidvania, and the coolest thing that really like hooked me into this is if you've ever watched The Legend of Vox Machina, main protagonist reminded me so much of Percy from that show. With the pistol, the like bit of like red magic, you know, when he goes to like his demonic self in the first season, and like the glasses, and obviously it was the mask in this, but it gave me that same vibes. And I just really loved that. I loved it in Vox Machina, and I love it the way that it's showcased in this game. It looks so like steampunk cool, and I'm very happy about it. This is the number one in this showcase. Dare I say, day one buy.
See, it is so funny. So first of all, this will also be on Game Pass, so you won't need to buy it because I have Game Pass until 2028 when I will let my subscription lapse because the prices are going to be too high. But until then, you will be able to play this. However, it's so crazy. Every time we go through a showcase like this, it's so interesting to me how different people can have such different tastes in games. Because, like, this looks cool. Don't get me wrong. I really like the art style of this. But this, like, Metroidvanias, I just immediately nope out of.
It's not all Metroidvanias, though. There have been Metroidvanias where I said nope.
But I mean, like, if there's a Metroidvania, I know you're probably going to lean towards it. Whereas, like, the third-person shooters, and then we're going to talk about Vampire Survivors again later, like, those type of games just appeal to me. And that is, so, like, we just are very different.
2 years ago, you wouldn't have appealed to an Animal Crossing game or even a Vampire Survivor game.
That is true. That is true.
I don't think you've been exposed to a quality Metroidvania.
I definitely have. I get so frustrated by them.
You need to play Metroid Dread.
I don't.
You do.
I feel like that would be an exercise in me getting really frustrated and maybe breaking our Switch.
That's fine.
It's not
then
fine.
We can get a Switch too.
No, I like our Switch. We do need a Switch too, but I like our Switch. Like, I'm not about that.
Anything else to say about this game?
No. The art style's pretty. That's really my 2 cents. I really like the art style.
Did you get the Percy vibe?
Yeah, and once you explained it, I definitely do.
All right. So the next game that was revealed was called Echo Generation 2. For me, this one was sort of a Ghostbusters meets Stranger Things vibe. It's a turn-based combat, and you're in another dimension, and there's 3D pixel art. So that's like my brain dump notes on this game. What I really found fascinating about this one was the 3D pixel animation. It's kind of just like this unique look, but the gameplay itself, it wasn't captivated. So while it looked nice to me, it's not enough to draw me in.
I do tend to like turn-based combat more than I think I do. Like every time I see a trailer that has turn-based combat, I'm like, meh. And then I remember as a kid playing like Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, and like Pokemon is
So why
like
didn't
the
you
OG.
play any of the Final Fantasies?
I really just didn't have access to them because especially when I was a kid and my mom was in charge of like okaying the games. Like let's be real, some of the Final Fantasy characters, they boobed a little too boobily. And like I love my mom, but she's not that progressive. She did not want boobies bouncing in her little girl's room. So yeah, I didn't get much exposure to that. But I do kind of like turn-based games, especially like turn-based card stuff, all that kind of jazz. And like I said, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, I think, is like the thing that locked in that I do actually like turn-based games. But even like the aesthetic of this, I've been a fiend for solid aesthetics in games lately. And this has that like 80s, maybe 90s kind of feel. And like the sidekick little dude, he's super cute. There's like arcade cabinets in the
sidekick little dude
background.
feels like something that was ripped from something else.
Yeah, from Gremlins. Yeah, 100%. But I don't know. It looks like fun. I really liked the pixel art 3D kind of mashup. And I would be willing to give this a try. It is going to be on Game Pass if you are a Game Pass subscriber, #2028. So I would be willing to pop this on for a little bit and see how I feel about it.
It's going to be mid. That's my prediction.
I don't know. I mean, this is a sequel. I never played Echo Generation, the first game. So, if it was good enough to get a sequel, it can't be that bad.
Well, you better pop it in and get it out of the way quickly, because one that I know for a fact you're going to play and be hyped to play, and we've already kind of teased about it several times in this show, is Vampire Crawlers. This game is coming out in 2026. It is made by the same team that brought you Vampire Survivors. However, it is a completely different play style.
Yeah, this was actually really interesting. So if you're not familiar with Vampire Survivors, it's kind of one of those games where you're basically a person in a room and you just walk around and you get weapons, but you don't actually you're not hitting buttons. You're basically mowing down enemies with the weapons that you equip and collect XP from the enemies that you take down, and it's wave after wave. This is going to be a completely different tact. It's going to be a first-person deck-building roguelike dungeon crawler, which is a mouthful to say. But It seems like it's going to be a lot of chaos. You're going to have a bunch of your, favorite characters from the Vampire Survivors original game, and then you'll be able to get a bunch of upgrades like the Bible, whip, garlic, etc., etc. But it's going to be like card stacking and, just turn-based card game play, which again, me saying that I really like Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, I'm on board. I am a little worried because I don't know how the magic of Vampire Survivors was how simple it was. There was some thinking, but also you just mowed down enemies, and this is going to be a little bit different in that there's going to be more strategizing and stuff like that, and elements of having to build your deck. So it's going to be slightly different, but I am definitely here for it. I mean, we've seen how many hours I've sunk into stuff like Balatro 2. This is up my alley, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because this is going to be a time sink, I can tell.
It reminded me of that turn-based dungeon crawler game we played on Game Pass, where we played just me and you, and our party was too small. And then we added computer members.
Are you thinking For the King?
Yes.
But that wasn't like a deck building card game.
No, I know, but the mechanics of this game kind of reminded me. Yeah, and
That's
the view of it reminded me of For the King.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I know they're completely different games, but that's the vibes I was getting.
That's fair. For the King is a really good game. If you haven't played that, if you like board games, I would say try For the King, but just make sure you have a full party, because otherwise it gets a little tough.
Agreed. Now, time for the biggest who cares of the showcase. They showcased the Aston Martin Valhalla, which is a car that is shown, played in, whatever, in 007 First Light. However, the whole time they were showing it, they were basically like, you'll never get this, you'll never get this. And it was a very weird, brief showcase of this small bit of the game that honestly felt out of place.
What's really interesting to me, and maybe this is just a sign of my attention span, but there was once a time when I used to love seeing games hyped up over multiple showcases and building the hype. And now sometimes I'm just I want to see a trailer for a game that's going to come out in the next 6 months, and I don't need to see 5 of them. And I do feel like I'm getting beat over the head with 007 content. And I
wouldn't even call this 007.
No, but I just feel like it's getting beat over my head. I get it. The game is coming out. I get it. There's a fancy car. Woo. Sorry.
I'm okay with being beaten with content. I
don't
really
love
am. I love a good beat off. But
even like Nintendo has been doing it with Kirby, like the new Kirby game, and it's like it's too much. And they did that with the new Pokemon games. Like it's too much. Reel it in.
If it's content worth sharing, I'm here for it. Something that like the drip of new EX Pokemon, that's kind of neat, you know, or Mega Pokemon.
But like at a certain point, like I feel like, and this feels like a very illegal take that I'm going to say here. At a certain point, give me your best 5 minutes and leave some mystique up to like, I want to discover it while I'm playing. You give me sometimes too much information. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, the same could be said to any kind of trailer, the way they construct it, where they'll show a whole entire fight sequence and then you don't get to enjoy it for yourself.
That is correct. And there is a game that we will be talking about later that does exactly that, which is an interesting take.
But before we do that, we're going to talk about...
There was like a slew of scary games. Like, I feel like the next 4 games were all like scary horror games that I don't love, but we'll talk about them.
If you're referring to Roadside Research...
Oh, no. Okay, no. That was like a weird alien game. I didn't really understand what was happening here, so I'll let you take this one because I didn't know what was going on.
You play as aliens undercover at a gas station. It's called Roadside Research, and you're just 2 aliens with basically paper on your face to disguise yourself as a human, and you've got to maintain the disguise, i.e. keep your gas station up to snuff.
Yeah,
so that you don't get discovered and the aliens can invade.
You're like stocking shelves and then doing research on your customers or something. I don't know. I worked in a grocery store for a really long time and I find it very interesting. So like the slew of regular job simulators, like,
yeah, so
I don't know. Maybe like I don't want to do a job that I already did, but like when it was like home renovation simulator, then I was like, yeah, sign me up. But like grocery store simulator, meh.
So there's 2 types of games that we've seen in the showcase. There's games that look really polished, but the substance is completely lame, and then there's games that look kind of like pixely, and it's not your standard polished looking game, but it's a unique art, and the game looks great. This is the animation looks really good, but the game looks blah.
I'm sure this is probably something, especially because it is co-op. Like, I feel like this is something that maybe you would throw a few drinks back and you would have a really good time with your friends. Like, I distinctly remember there was a time when you downloaded a game called Mount Your Friends, and I looked at it and I was like, this looks like the dumbest fucking shit I've ever seen. Right. But then like we had some drinks and we had a bunch of friends playing it all together and it was a blast.
Someone was telling me about a game called Floppy Toast, which is the same mechanic. We should play that.
Yeah, I would be down. So like I feel like this could be in that category where because you're playing it with somebody and it's just so ridiculous, like maybe it could be fun.
Well, the problem with a lot of those sim games is we've gotten to a point in, I guess, between Fiverr and just generic commissioning of art where people put out all of these like generic assets into the world on models, and then people just pick up those assets, don't put a lot of work in, and then pump out a game like this that looks very good because the assets were polished, but ultimately...
I mean, we don't know. Like, I don't want to be out here you accusing them of not using their own assets. Like,
I'm not accusing them of that, but that's how come the market is saturated with a lot of these simulator type games.
Yeah.
And this might fall in that bubble, but unfortunately, if it's not in that bubble, the inrush of all of these type of games is kind of doing this then a disservice.
Yeah.
So that's my rant.
That's fair. I mean, this will be coming out on Game Pass, and this will be coming out in 2026. So we can maybe give it a whirl. This is not for me, but
I hope this is something more like Aliens Attack or something, and it's just a shitty trailer.
I don't think it is. I think it is just like a store simulator, but I don't know.
Now for the scary stuff. So this next game is called Total Chaos, and it is available.
I didn't like this
right now.
I was very uncomfortable. I did not like this.
This was a scary game meets zombie monster survival, and even just the music in the trailer just had filled you with dread and anxiety.
I didn't even I don't necessarily even think they were zombies. I think weren't these supposed to be like nightmares in your head? I don't know. It's
spooky.
There was like a narrative that was playing over the trailer, and it was like you used to love this house, and now this this house is basically killing you and taking you to the depths of hell of your mind. And I was like, this just does not seem like something I want to be experiencing. I already have my own mental health things. I don't need to add total chaos to it as well. But hey.
So with that said, we're not even going to go further in this game. This was just horror game. You know that we're not interested in that. Now,
I mean, I would say there are some horror games that you like. This is just not for me. And you were creeped out even by the trailer. But this is out, like he said today, which
it was really good audio design because it did what it intended to do.
Exactly.
That said, we love co-op games. We love co-op games here at the Online Warriors. And the next game was Reanimal. This is a co-op horror game from the creators who brought us Little Nightmares. It is the same sort of unsettling, dim lighting, really, really creepy, almost like, who's that one director that makes all those creepy people?
Oh, Tim Burton.
Yeah, very Tim Burton-esque kind of creepy things. Would you play this, or is this too... I've watched a lot of gameplay footage of Little Nightmares, and it is too creepy for me. It is, like, disturbing.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I love a good co-op game. So much. But there are so many games on our backlog that are co-op before I would get to this. Like,
I wouldn't even touch this.
This just doesn't seem like it's for me.
As the brave one in the relationship, I wouldn't touch this.
See, I don't know if this is necessarily like spooky, scary. This is more just like weird.
Disturbing.
It's just weird atmosphere. And I think at one point in my life, I would have enjoyed this, maybe.
I made us turn off Pet Sematary because it was disturbing.
I wouldn't say that this is necessarily Pet Sematary-esque. I don't know about that.
I promise you it is.
Maybe. I don't know. There's other games that I would tackle before I get to this. This is like, if we played every other co-op game in the world, I'd be like, okay, maybe. But we've played some weird co-op games before. Like, we really have. What was that one where it was like, it wasn't Minecraft, but it was like you were in this like serial killer camp and you were like solving puzzles or something. And like, we played this together, you and I. And it
sounds like a fever dream.
It was like some summer camp serial killer puzzle solving thing that we played for like a solid 2 or 3 days. So we've played some weird fucked up shit. And like, I don't know, maybe we'd get there at some point. I don't know, but probably not anytime soon. This is just not
worth it.
That's fair. Totally
anyway,
fair.
This comes out February 13th, right before Valentine's Day. So you get your loved one and get freaked the fuck out. Get hyped for that. The next game that we're going to shout out is called Erosion. This is a sort of pixely, Minecrafty animation, takes place in a Western-esque time, but it starts out with you are killed and you've lost the connection with your daughter, and you're playing through a roguelite to be reunited with her, with the catch every time you die your daughter's going to get older and older and older.
Not just the daughter, every time you die you respawn 10 years later, so the entire world around you, not just your daughter, is changing. So like characters that you've interacted with too in the environment, like everybody is getting 10 years older. And it almost seems to like they go through, like throughout the trailer, it looked like there were different phases of technology that you encounter. And at first, before they kind of introduced the shtick that when you die, you come back a decade later, it just kind of felt like a mishmash of all of this different like time periods and technology. But it kind of makes sense now, because technology would advance. You'd come back and you'd be like, oh, now there's like this weird hover car thing I can hop into. It's an interesting concept, I think.
And it puts stakes to like a lot of roguelikes, you can theoretically die infinite amount of time, but it puts a little bit of stakes on that, and it's going to then evolve your own experience that's going to be unique to you and not anybody else. So this one I thought was a very creative twist on what is the roguelike mechanism. And it looked very neat and unique. Again, doesn't need to be a super polished art to be a super polished game. So this looks fantastic.
See, I will say though that while I thought the art style was very cool, there could be instances, like especially when you zoomed in and it was a little bit too pixely. And I just know this, like playing on our 80-inch TV, sometimes that pixel art style does not translate super well. Like it would be really good on a handheld device, but on like an 80-inch TV, sometimes then you kind of lose what the pixels are trying to show you because it's just too big and too magnified.
You want to say that we have an 80-inch TV again?
I didn't even, it was not a humble brag. Like it's not that nice of a TV. Like it was like a Black Friday Walmart Roku TV. That is not like super crazy or anything like that.
You just made sure to squirrel it in multiple times.
Sorry. But I don't know, man. But yeah, like it looks really interesting though. I really like the unique gameplay concept. I need to this is one of those games that I think would do really well having a demo. And I know it's coming to Game Pass, so that like in and of itself is kind of a demo. But like if I could get a chance, and I feel like demos are a lost art, and some of these games did say that they had a demo, but like if I had a chance to just sit down with it for 10 minutes to see like what the gameplay was like, because that was the thing I didn't really get from this. Like, what is the gameplay itself like?
Yeah.
Am I walking around like that game that I didn't love that won a bunch of awards, Disco Elysium? Like Disco Elysium, for all intents and purposes, kind of had the same vibe from the trailer, even like the quirky art style. But when it came down to it, like the gameplay just didn't jive with me. So I would love to see what the gameplay of this game actually is.
It did give me, they did show brief stints of the gameplay. It did give me a bit of like Flash player vibes. It looked like Solitaire. Another one was, it just looked like, you know, you had the health bar over all your little enemies and you shoot them with your shotgun and it depletes. That was like hardcore. Like there was this block zombies that I played and it had looked exactly like that. All Flash player games. So that's the vibe that I think it is going to be, which as a veteran of Zombie Survivor, you're not against that style of gameplay. You're into it.
Yeah, I am. Now, going into the next game.
Animals.
Yeah. Well, so this was probably my favorite thing that we saw out of this entire showcase. And apparently this is by this same studio that brought Fist, Forged, and Shadow Torch, which is a game that was on my radar, but I didn't play ever. And it kind of makes me want to go back and play this. But also, like this new game that they announced, Zoopunk, completely all in. You play as an anthropomorphic bunny with 2 swords. It's an action adventure game. The bunny has like stolen this spark, and then these other anthropomorphic animals, you know, kind of take you down as the bunny, but then you have like a rhino friend and a squirrel friend, and it's just like, I love animals. And I love anthropomorphic fighting animals, and I want to be an animal. And so immediately, yes. Like, there's probably more I could say, but like, it's just immediately yes.
I mean, the RPG samurai style combat slasher is very appealing to me. I do wish the bunny character looked a little bit less gruff. Like,
I feel like that's a callback. Like, I don't remember much about Fist, aside from at one point I was like, bunny, I want to play this. But I want to say he like is a derivative of that game, and that's why he's got like the gruff look, but I don't know. Someone who knows more about this game, please let me know.
I really like my animal creatures. Like,
you want them cutesy?
Like Jak and Daxter. I thought like that era of animal characters, I think just nailed the look. I really do. And I was hoping for something like that here, but it's not bad. I mean, the squirrel friend, they nailed it there. I just wish the bunny like, I guess it's more of a scaling problem for me. Your bunny is almost as tall as your rhinoceros. I wish it was like more 1-to-1 to 1-to-1. That's my issue. But like, I'm in. This is cool. Everyone's got like unique species, and that's going to come with, I assume, different play styles, etc. The way that they combat in the world and are your different allies. And this looked great.
Yeah, I am 100% down for this. This one's not coming out until 2027, but man, I'm just, everything about this, just immediately yes. Like, if you took any game from the showcase and you were like, which one of these has Nerdbomber written all over it? This is the one. This is the one for sure.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Animals, bunny. Like, I'm such a sucker. You put an animal
like,
in a game and
vampires are. I thought you were.
Yeah, you would think. And then a bunny with swords and a motorcycle popped out of nowhere. And then it was like immediately yes. So.
All right. Fair enough. Now, when it comes to Nerdbomber's expertise, she had made sure to do her homework on this next game, Cloverpit.
Yes. And I'll talk about this a little bit more in What Are You Up To Wednesday, but the big announcement here was that Cloverpit came to Game Pass after this announcement. Cloverpit is a roguelike game, and like I said, I'll go into it a little bit more in detail with the What Are You Up To Wednesday, but it's a roguelike where every spin of a slot machine, you get money, and you have to, you know, try to win as much money to survive. The, you know, ultimate thing here, it's on Game Pass, and there's also going to be new DLC for the game. Like I said, we'll go into this a little bit more in depth. I have played this, so I will let you know. This came out on Steam a little bit ago, like a month or two ago, so kind of had a head start on the whole Xbox thing. So this is not like a new game here, but yeah, it's new to Xbox and it's out now.
All right, so we'll put a pin in the details for now. The next one is the biggest, what the heck are we watching?
Yeah, I was cringed.
Hitman. Eminem versus Slim Shady. So the premise is Eminem has teamed up with the infamous Hitman to take on Slim Shady, his inner demon, I guess they're calling him, and he's like elusive and they're trying to take him out. Very weird. The Slim Shady and Eminem characters look very Uncanny Valley to me.
Yeah, something about this was just really off and really cringy. And like I think, wasn't there an Eminem video game back in like the 360 era or something like that? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was DLC for something else. But like something about this was just weird, and I didn't like it.
He doesn't have a face for video games. There, I said it.
No, he 100% could, but like, I don't know. Something about this was strange. And like, even Eminem versus Slim Shady could be a cool idea, but not like this. Something about
not
this
as part of the Hitman.
Yeah, something about this was just executed really weird. I did enjoy that they showed like mom serving spaghetti, I think, at one point in this trailer. Like, I appreciated that. Yeah, you gotta do that.
I mean, his arms were heavy.
But yeah, this just was kind of weird for me. I don't know. I don't like it. Sorry, Eminem.
This was like, there were a lot of things that came out of left field and were like, okay, but I digress. Now the next one, Tides of Annihilation. This was cool,
but
this was an epic boss fight, and that was it. This was my problem with good trailers. You showcase the entire boss fight and give no plot. It looks really, really cool. I mean, it looks, dare I say, gorgeous. It looks absolutely stunning. But one, we have no idea what the plot is. Two, when it gets time to actually doing that boss fight, it's already been spoiled for you.
I don't know. So the interesting thing and what they kind of set up in this trailer, so you play as Gwendolyn, and this is all based off of like Arthurian legend. And this does not really come through in the trailer. This is all like what I'm reading text-wise, like that came out with the trailer. But it looks like you're able to shift through different realities and come up with different allies, different like legendary allies to give you strength while you're fighting this boss battle. So maybe they didn't, like, I don't know how the game will pan out, but I'm wondering if there's different people that you can ally with that will give you different abilities, and it will kind of change the way that you handle this battle. So maybe they were okay showing this entire boss battle because everybody will kind of approach it a little bit differently. That's just my thinking.
You got your information from reading this and
right,
i.e. doing research on it. I think a trailer should give you everything you need.
I agree. However, I think by showing the gameplay, and the gameplay was so gorgeous, and I was really intrigued by the fact that like you're able to partner with like the line used in this trailer by the entity that you're partnering with is
Kingdom Hearts.
Is enemy of my enemy, like now we're allies. And like that was kind of intriguing. So I think even without the podcast, like I would have been driven to see like what is this game, because this looks cool.
It looked really cool. I don't want my upsetness about the trailer to take over everything. It did look fantastic, and I'll second what I just said again. The ally of, especially if you can rotate, like you know how in Kingdom Hearts you can bring a plethora of buddies into battle with you to like, call on.
And like based on like what Keyblade you have different abilities. Like I feel like it could probably be something similar to that. But obviously, like I don't want to say Kingdom Hearts isn't elevated, but this definitely feels more like an adult, more mature art style and story. Again, not saying that Kingdom Hearts is not mature. I will go to battle for anybody who talks shit about Kingdom Hearts, but like it's just a different maturity level of game, I think.
I'm hyped to play this and find out that the final boss is Xehanort.
Everybody is Xehanort. Even in Arthurian times, everybody is Xehanort. Even I am Xehanort. You are Xehanort.
Correct.
We are all Xehanort.
Correct. So we got 2 more games left. This next one is called Raji Kaliyuga. This is a follow-up to the first one, which is Raji.
I had never heard of that game.
Ancient Epic. They said it with such confidence, and yeah, I had never heard of that one either.
Apparently, it's like a multi-award-winning game, like an indie game set in India, and like I'm kind of confused because I feel like I would have known about this. Maybe not. Maybe I lived under a rock somehow, but like this feels like something I would have been interested in. So yeah. I'm confused.
And what the trailer shows us is a bunch of like demon baboons versus it looked like a magical boy and girl. And the trailer is definitely intriguing, but now the flip side of my trailer shakes fist at clouds is I want to see more gameplay. I don't know what this is about. I don't know how it works. Obviously, it being a sequel, most of the fans probably do know. So I'm more of a, I guess, ignorant observer to this. But this definitely caught my attention for sure.
Okay, so this is really interesting. And this is probably why I didn't play the first game and was not interested in it. So the first game, the original like Raji game, is a 2D isometric style type game. And this is going more into like a third person 3D platformer action adventure style game, which makes sense why I feel like now that I'm looking at pictures of the first game, I am recalling seeing this game before. And this is a very drastic departure and genre shift. So that's really interesting to me. I always find that fascinating when studios do that, because if the first game was so successful, like I always am wondering what the mindset is into changing so drastically what the game style is.
Challenging yourself, maybe, or player feedback.
Yeah, I always find it super fascinating. So very interesting.
Yeah, and looking at some of the gameplay of this, it kind of gives like PlayStation 3 vibes in the platformy and the colors and the way the characters look. So this, I'm interested in this one for sure.
Yeah, and I think that more or less wraps up the showcase, right? That was pretty much everything in a nutshell. Let us know what your favorite game from this showcase was. There was a lot of ground that we covered here. Techtic, what was your absolute favorite out of all of these if you had to pick one? Sorry to put you on the spot, but
Crowsworn. That's the one that I would play right now.
Yeah, for me, like I said, Zoopunk, just bunnies on motor. Like, God, I just fucking love animals, man. I love them. So yeah, that's mine. But yeah, let us know. We're both on Blue Sky. At ownerdbomber.bsky.social. He's at techtic.bsky.social. Let us know what you thought about the showcase. And before we head into our break and we hit our last topic of the day, I would be absolutely remiss if I did not call out our fantastic Patreon producer, Mr. Stephen Keller. Please take a bow. Stephen has been subscribed to us at the night level over on our Patreon for quite a while now, and as a result, he gets this weekly shout out from my sad little voice. But most of the time I'm shouting his name boisterously because he is so awesome and cool. He helps us keep the lights on here at Online Warriors Central. And as a result, like I said, he gets this shout out. He gets appearances on the show. He gets access to our monthly secret segments, our monthly vlogs, and some voting rights on those topics. If you want to be as cool as Steven, head on over to patreon.com/Online Warriors Podcast. You'll see 3 different tiers of patronage. Each tier comes with a different level of perk, but at any tier, at the end of the day, you are helping to keep Online Warrior Studios open. So thank you again to Steven. Thank you to you all for listening. And now we're going to head into the break.
Let's see, Alex. What do you think of Jaws, which is at 97% Rotten Tomatoes?
I find it to be anti-shark propaganda. What do you feel about the Entourage movie, which is at a meager 33%?
I think they finally got Hollywood right. How about It Follows, 97%?
Worse than your parents giving you the sex is evil talk. How do you feel about Juno, which is at 94%?
That would be a movie that celebrates a teenage homewrecker. How about Bewitched at 25%?
Best television adaptation ever put to film. How do you feel about American Hustle at a towering 93%?
Overwrought awards bait. Righteous Kill, 19%.
The movie that Michael Mann wishes he had made when he created Heat.
Sounds about right. I'm Julio.
I'm Alex, and we are the Contrarians.
As you can tell, our thing is that we rage against the Rotten Tomatoes machine,
regardless of what we really feel.
Find us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn,
Facebook, Twitter, we're everywhere.
And we're back, and our last show is another TV adaptation of a video game. We are getting the Farcry series adapted to both FX and Hulu. It's going to be starring and produced by Rob McElhenney. Now, what's interesting about this story is the Far Cry franchise as a whole takes place over a vast array of environments and times, and I'm curious how they're going to adapt this into a series. Either it's got to be like capsule seasons or something that's like its own kind of linear story. And what I mean by that is like each game is sort of a variation of a theme. And so I'm curious how like even like the theme of like the Far Cry Primal, right? That was like prehistoric theme and things like that. So I'm curious, like, are they going to just stick with one theme and roll out a season, or are they going to make them, like, you see what I'm saying? It could just be one continuous story because there's a lot of juice within even like a solo game. There's a ton there, but like, it's very interesting. Like, I personally see this almost as like a Twilight Zone adjacent thing where it's like, hey, here's the theme, here's the situation, go. And I think that has sort of an interest, like it would make it stand out outside of like every other TV drama series.
Yeah, I mean, having those like soul season storylines, there are other TV shows that have done that for sure. I'm thinking there's that one comedy show, and I don't even know if it's still running, but it had like Harry Potter. Radcliffe was in it, and I want to say it was on like TNT or TBS, and like every season was like a different plot line or a different like storyline or something like that. So like they could do something like that. I think what I find even more fascinating, and like I've played a couple of the Farcry games, but I haven't really gotten into them too deeply. But what I find most fascinating is Rob McElhenney. Is he like a big gamer? Because now this is his second game or his second TV series. Like he had Mythic Quest, like he was at the helm of Mythic Quest. That obviously got dropped, and now he's like pivoting to another video game series. And like I guess good for him. You know, someone's got to take up the helm, I guess, for these video game shows.
I mean, he's definitely a dork. He's just now a beefy dork, but he's definitely like a nerd at his heart.
But like, I love that for him, and I love that for us.
Hashtag Philly too. Let's go.
I don't really have any ties to Philly though.
Yeah, but I don't know. Philly feels like to me, Rob McElhenney feels like what I would consider one of us. You know what I mean? Like one of those people you like come across in the street and you're like, hey, like he's not like stardom to his head kind of vibes, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I will say from like even watching like the Welcome to Wrexham docuseries, like he does just seem like a very genuine human being.
Down to earth.
Yeah.
He's one of those people that I feel like didn't forget where he came from. And like I love that he's promoting nerd culture, and like I think he's one too. I think he's just a buff nerd, which is a thing. You could be a buff and a nerd.
I will say, so I really loved Mythic Quest, and God, I wish that show hadn't gotten canceled. It jumped the shark. Like the last season was not great. I will say that. Like it was not fantastic. But like that show in general, before it jumped the shark, like I just look on that fondly.
I think it's that's one of those ones that like overstates welcome, in my opinion.
But I think because it got too full of itself, I think.
They were trying to make things happen in a weird way.
No, like I think they just thought they like the first few seasons were so funny, but I think it got to their head where they were like, yeah, we're really funny. So then it started being like weird, over the top, and like inside jokey. And I feel like you can't do that. Like part of what made it so good was that it was like a look at a real game studio for the first couple of seasons, but then it just started focusing on just the main characters and like their interpersonal drama and their interpersonal jokes, and that's when the show jumped the shark. And I know we're not talking about Far Cry anymore, but like it's all in the same realm.
R.I.P. Mythic Quest.
Yeah, I like that show. Yeah.
So with that, we're gonna roll on into
What Are You Up To Wednesday?
And since you were in here last week, I am going to let you share.
Yeah, let me do that before my voice gives out completely. I feel like throughout this episode, you can like start to hear me running on fumes a little bit. So I did play Cloverpit, and we mentioned this before. It was featured in the Xbox Partnership Showcase. And this was kind of billed as the slot machine version of Balatro. And to an extent, it sort of is. Techtic looked at it and he was like, I don't understand how it's fun to just keep, playing a slot machine. And I understand that, but you're not just playing a slot machine. So what you're doing is it's kind of, there's that card game Inscription where you're like locked in a cabin and you have to play your way out to survive. So you have that sort of horror element. So you're locked in this room with a slot machine and you start out with like $13, and essentially there's an ATM and you have to hit a certain amount of money that you've inserted into the ATM to stay alive, and you have like 3 rounds to hit that amount of money, and every time you hit the threshold it gets increased. And as you're collecting money, every time you play the slots you also get a ticket for playing the slots. And where the adjustment of randomness and luck comes in is for every ticket that you get to buy modifiers that change the slot machine odds. So you can have a modifier that increases the values of, say, like lemons or cherries. So then you can also buy another modifier that increases the odds that you're going to roll lemons and cherries. So essentially you're buying a bunch of modifiers, and every round 2 that you hit your quota, your money quota, you also get a mysterious phone call, and you get to choose additional permanent modifiers. And so essentially you're just changing the odds and playing the odds sort of like you do in Balatro to make sure that you're hitting higher and higher jackpots. You have better multipliers so that you're winning more and more money, because the money thresholds that you have to hit as you're playing continue to increase exponentially as you continue going. So there's also much like Inscription, there's a longer standing story, and I have beat the slot machine. Like, I have won a round. I have not really gotten in deep enough to see what the long-standing story is, but there's like a key so you can unlock things in the room, and there's just like things that you're supposed to be uncovering as you play more and more. I haven't gotten deep down that rabbit hole just quite yet. I will say, while it is semi-addicting, and I think I spent like probably an hour and a half playing it the other day, it doesn't have that staying power like Inscription did, and it didn't have the staying power like Balatro does, only because even though you're modifying the odds, I feel like luck is still too big of a factor. And I know luck is also a factor in Balatro, but it feels like you can kind of ward it off a little bit better in something like Balatro. Whereas in this game, sometimes...
Are you sure it's just because you're not upgraded enough? Like in Hades, that had a bunch of randomness, but it felt less random when you were powerful.
There are, like, as you continue to play and you hit milestones, you do unlock different modifiers that then you can buy in the store. So the more you play, the more modifiers are open to you. And so that might be it as well, that I just don't have enough of them available to me yet. But I will say, like, there have been moments where I thought I had a fantastic run of modifiers. Like, my percentage odds of getting the one symbol was up in like the 50%. I had timed modifiers that increased that even further, and the value was even higher. And like, in theory, I should have crushed it, but I just somehow got really unlucky on my pull, and I'd never, even though I had like bell odds up the yin yang, I didn't have any bells show up, which was just really frustrating, and I didn't love that. But that's an odds-based game, I guess. So I don't think, like, I'm definitely going to go back to it, but I think if I had to choose between Cloverpit and Balatro, like, I'm going to go back to Balatro. So,
I mean, Balatro's peak.
Right. Like, I'm going to see this through a little bit more, make sure that I'm doing my due diligence before I like really make a call on whether it's a great game or just a good game. But we'll see. We'll see. And then I want to make sure that I'm leaving stuff for you to talk about. But we also started watching the Mighty Nein, which is the next Critical Role animated series to hit Prime. So I think, Techtic, you talked about The Legend of Vox Machina earlier when we were talking about Crowsworn. And this is essentially a very similar series. The stories don't overlap. The universes don't overlap. If you're familiar with Critical Role, basically they play, like role-playing campaigns. And so Vox Machina was like one campaign, and the Mighty Nein is a different campaign story altogether. So it's the same,
It's a lot of the same voice actors.
Yeah, I mean, because much like in Critical Role, like it's the same people playing the game. So the voice actors, there's a lot of overlap, but it's a completely new cast of characters and a completely new story. Right now, there's only 3 episodes that are out, but we have watched all 3 of them. I will say, in these early stages, and this is even the case in Vox Machina, right now we're going through a lot of, character foundations, and we're learning the backgrounds of these characters. Like, the group has not come together yet. We're still very individualistic in these storylines, and we're starting to see them getting closer to each other, but the group is not together yet. All that said, though, like, the animation style is fantastic. Like, if you liked Vox Machina, I'm sure this is going to be more of the same goodness. I have heard actually that if you like listening to the Critical Role podcast, that the Mighty Nein campaign was actually better than Vox Machina in terms of like the story. So I'm very excited to see where this goes. And, I want to watch this as the episodes come out. Just because I really enjoyed Vox Machina and want to stay culturally relevant, but also because I want to make sure that they renew this for more seasons, for sure.
Same seas. Anything else you want to say?
No, that's pretty much it. Techtic, what do you got going on?
So we've played the latest and greatest Jackbox. This one's interesting because it has, one of the games is microphone based. And when you think Jackbox, you typically think, all of your friends are gathered in the same living room, and the microphone game does not make sense because you're getting a lot of background noise to the point where you physically cannot participate. Like it's one of my friends, he literally went into the bathroom to record his stuff. It is difficult. So I'm curious why they want that route. I know there are streamers and things like that are able to do it because they're doing it online, but it seems silly to me when at its heart Jackbox is a living room play with friends game. But overall, I'd say, it's got a lot of the classic elements. Like there's a find the werewolf type game, who's the murderer, those are always great party games, good fun. And overall, not my favorite Jackbox, but not the worst.
I will say over time, so this is Jackbox 11.
They're getting worse.
Yeah, they are. Like they just don't hit as good as the first ones do. And then I find myself wishing we could just go back to the OGs. Like Quiplash and Fibbage were just like peak Jackbox stuff.
They hit it out of the gate, I will say. I agree with you there. I wanted to talk about the Mighty Nein, but we already did that, so that's all I'm going to cover for today.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody's patience with me. I hope I didn't sound too terrible. I hope my voice is not grating like nails on a chalkboard. But if it is, then I appreciate you hanging with me for an hour because look at you. You're a champ. Anyway, with that said, we look forward to talking at you next week. And until then, stay safe and keep on podcasting.